Good morning. Happy Thursday, George, Matt. How are we doing
Megan,
this
Matt, good
morning?
morning. Good morning.
Doing all right.
Kind of
It's a
It's
cold,
sunny
bright.
Thursday.
It's
cold and
pretty.
sunny day. Snowed a little last night. A little mist. It was quite nice. But here in New York, quite exciting.
We're getting into winter. It's feeling very holiday cheerful. As you can see, Matt and I are representing the merry season with the green and the red. And George looks great in his California peach, I would call that. Uh,
Salmon.
He's getting
Sam,
ready.
excuse
He's
me.
getting ready for Easter. That's
Oh,
all.
you're right. It's not a peach.
Exactly.
That's really embarrassing. So guys, I want to just thank regular viewers for being here. We love showing up for you guys every week, and we hope you like us just as much. For new viewers, we are Valiant Technology, a managed service provider based in New York, but we do have a national reach. And if you want to learn more about us, we have a lot of these live streams where you can see other members of the team join in. Justin Pencina used to be a fixture, and he's a really smart guy. Anyway, and yeah, we have a great thing going here and a great library of the live streams if you ever want to dive in. And just look at our YouTube channel. We have other videos as well. And if you want to join the conversation, you can comment on our YouTube videos, you can comment on our LinkedIn, and you can actually also watch our live stream now via Twitter. So please follow us at The Valiant Way. And we really do watch those DMs. I say this every week, but we really like creating content that you guys want to see. We're talking about IT. I'm sure you have some specific questions. Throw them our way. We're happy to make time for them on our streams. All right, that's all out of the way. Matt, do you want to take it away? Talk about what we're doing this week and also kind of what happened last week. We had a really wonderful, unusual stream last week as well.
Yeah, we had a fantastic stream last week. We had a lot of really, really bright minds from the MSP community come on and join us to talk about 6 out of the 12 2022 strategic IT trends that Gartner put out in an article recently. And gosh, we had so many people. We had Jonathan from Ninja, who's someone I work with a lot on things, and Colin Knox from Gradient, and Marnie from Lifecycle Insights. And of course, we had a couple of owners, Dan over at TechRunner, and of course, Drew over at Polaris, and Ray, of course, at OIT. I mean, it's Ray. You know, how do you not mention Ray? But it was great. It was a lot of really fun conversation. It was a bit of a break from the normal stuff that we do. And you know what? We're breaking for the rest of the year. It's the end of the year. It's a time that I hope you guys agree with me. It's a time to kind of like stretch the legs out a little bit before the next lap begins on January 1, you know, and
Yeah.
it's a time of the year that I really enjoy because of course there's work to be done, but hopefully you could take a little bit of a deep breath and maybe change the pace for a little while. And I think that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah.
You know, one of the cool things that I was thinking about after last week's stream is that everyone that was there works within the realm of technology to make something better. And one of the questions I like to ask people, and it was a question that was asked of me at my first job interview, is what got you interested in this? Was there a singular event? Is it about, you know, a salary or a particular career path? What is it? I mean, literally got like the, all right, kid, why are you here kind of thing. And I don't really remember my response, but whatever it was, it worked out pretty well for me. And that kind of became a bit of a conversation last week. And today I want us to talk a little bit about the moments that we experienced that got us interested in technology. What is it that took place, an event or anything that you've encountered that really kind of gets you excited about the prospect of working with technology and what you could do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that working at a company like Valiant with so many people that are so interested in technology that it's to say it's a 9 to 5, not the job, but the interest is it's kind of silly because it's 24/7 for many of us, you know, in various ways. And I thought it would just be a fun thing to talk about maybe some of the memories we have that really were those moments where we knew that we wanted to do something with regards to technology in our lives.
Sure.
And, you know, I think that I'd love to hear from George first. I mean, he's our fearless leader. I'm sure he's got some good stuff going here that we can talk about.
Oh man, very accidental in the IT field. I originally wanted to be a college professor and teach history. That was my real goal in life, was to get my PhD and teach. And I still like that mindset and of a curiosity and learning and you know, writing to some degree. And So when I was a kid, we were talking prepping for a stream, and I remember, having a Timex Sinclair and, making games in BASIC, and coding them. You get these magazines that had like code in them, and that, the Timex, we moved to a Commodore 64, so we used to write the games. We write these kind of text-based, turn-based kind of games, and you would write like hundreds of lines of code, like kind of copying them, and then you would like execute it, and it didn't work. And then you had to debug it. It was like a whole thing. Like I was telling Gene about it, and Gene remembers doing it as well. We're roughly the same age, and then bizarrely, like when I got older, I was like totally not into computers. Like I didn't touch a computer for years. Like after this, like this kind of like youthful, like 8-10-year-old kind of period in my life, and even all through mostly going through college without even using a computer, and I'm embarrassed but laughingly saying, like, when I met my wife, I didn't know how to use a mouse, and she made fun of me for it because we were trying to use a computer. Like I couldn't double click. I don't know if you guys have ever had that problem. And but it was a bit of a challenge. But what really sparked it for me was I had worked at a pretty well-known publishing company in marketing of all things, which I wasn't very good at the time, but still not really good at it. But what struck me was that I was sitting in front of a computer all day, and it was just, at the time it was a Mac OS 7 machine.
System 7, I think it was.
System 7. I'm sorry. I thought OS. Thank you, Matt. You're right. It was a System 7.6. And it was, I had to do a lot of work in Quark. I don't know if there's some of the old timers out there remember that. It was the big press layout application, because we were doing some marketing work and flyers and stuff like that for our marketing efforts. And it just fascinated me, like the whole, how it worked, what it did. And as I worked in that field for a while, I was like, well, if I'm going to sit in front of this thing for the next 40 plus years, I assume I'm working, I should probably get good at it. And it kind of sparked my interest in it. And that's how I started doing more IT work. I asked questions, and I had a friend who helped me out. He got, I was kind of had like a quarter life crisis, I guess, at the time. I didn't know what I was going to do the rest of my life. And I kind of got into it. But that's a story for another day, how I got into IT and developed it and got real lucky in life in terms of working for some great people, with great people who were mentors. But, and once I started, for me, the thing was that sparked my interest in it. Once I started working on it, it is like snowball. Like, why does it do this? And how does it work? And how do you make it do these things? And, there's so many pieces to it. It's like a giant puzzle. And it was just as interesting or more interesting than what I studied in school. So it was really cool. But that's how I got into it. And then like all things, I guess, obsessive personality, you had to learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. And go deep.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, George, but I think that anyone here watching right now wants to know. Was it a 3-button mouse that you couldn't double click?
No, it was a 2-button mouse. I couldn't wrap my head around it.
So it was like a standard like PS2 2-button.
It was a PS2 2-button mouse that did not. I literally couldn't get the speed right.
Yeah. That's so interesting. It's interesting though, because it's like the double click. I mean, we were not built for that evolutionary. Like, it's weird. We just learned this behavior.
George, I got to ask you again. Did you feel fortunate when Windows NT 4 had the option for like single click of icons on the desktop?
It wasn't like that. It was more that I think I'm left-handed, so I think that I was trying to use the mouse in a right-handed mode, and so like it was like the opposite. And even now, I still use a mouse in my right hand, because back then you could switch the mouse direction, but you're sharing a computer with other people in the house. Back then, it was much more complicated than it is nowadays.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, yeah. So. But if you ever watch me, I use a touchpad on my left hand. It's very bizarre. So that's why I can't double click. But anyway, that's my story. How I started interest in it, and now it's like obsession about it and learning as much as I can, and it's like infinite. And I think it's both the blessing and a curse of working IT, is that it's infinite interest if you like learning every day of your life. It's also a curse because you have to learn every day of your life, and if you're not ready to do that, it's not a great career. So it's definitely nothing that you can kind of learn once and do it the rest of your life, like carpentry. Man, and I'm sure carpenters learn new stuff all the time, but there's some real fundamentals, like you could probably just learn it. Whereas
like 6
IT
months later here, something may be completely different.
Yeah, I mean, we live in 6 month to 1 year cycles. I mean, fundamentals don't change, but the actual where you click, what you do changes.
Yeah.
You have to understand, and paradigm shift over time, and So I think there's a lot. I think you have to. I wouldn't say you have to accept and embrace constant learning and change in this field.
It's like keeping one eye on your work and the other eye on the landscape to understand what's around the corner.
Yeah,
and
you
if
have
you don't do that,
situational
you can
awareness.
fall behind. Yeah, I mean, look, we'll move on to Megan in a second, but I just want to kind of relate to that a little bit. That over the years, I've done a lot in IT, from the engineering work to development and everything else. And there are days where, I've had conversations with you where I'm like, what am I doing now? Because it's difficult to maintain focus in one particular area. You get into it, you start spreading out your skill set, you learn new things, it's exciting, and then you turn around, and you're like, man, what's next? And it's a little bit of that.
It's hard, and also it gives you to be very careful, especially for something like managed service provider, because if you personally, as a leadership in a company, or even your staff has interest in all these various things, that may not be literally be a good fit, right? Because you keep don't do things that are like really great for the company, that are repeatable, have one-offs. That's a huge problem. So exactly.
I think great. That Drew's comment here is more related to Star Trek and being like, hey, what was the thing? The replicator. Make me a cheeseburger. Unfortunately, we don't have that anymore. We don't have that yet, but there are certain devices in my living room that I'm not going to mention because I don't want my lights to turn off.
Yes, it's true. The voice control thing you thought would be better, but I rarely use it, as I can type way faster than I can speak.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Engage.
All right, so yeah, let's move. I'm really interested in hearing Megan's, because Megan doesn't come from a typical IT background, background of retail and other areas, and that I think makes for a much more exciting story. A little different.
I never even saw a computer before Valiant.
Boom, that's it right there.
Done.
And George is like, great. We can grow her into the salesperson we want her to be.
That's right. Exactly.
Actually, though, George, you were talking about that mindset that you need for IT, and I always felt very lucky that you guys took a chance on me coming from retail, and I was like, oh, maybe that was what I was like, the growth mindset might have been hopefully what you were applying to my hiring. So Matt, sorry to interrupt you. But my introduction to IT actually was I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I adored Sailor Moon, the cartoon, the Japanese anime. I don't know if you have a photo you want to
look at that.
Yep. So this is actually the exact moment I was like, that's a computer? I'm kidding. And that a cat can use. But I adored this TV show called Sailor Moon, and I kept bothering my mom, talking to her about it incessantly. And, she's an adult and she didn't watch this cartoon as much as me. And she helped me, and I would go on with her, but we would find a fan website where I could join, talk to people about the minutia of Sailor Moon and the characters. And I still remember all the little icons of the Sailor Scouts. It's very fresh in my mind. That's true, right? they do want to get in there. I've found the cats. And I think that was a moment kind of I realized, oh, you can use this device and the internet to connect to people about something you just really love, which I still think is now even the best the internet can be so many things. It can be very negative, but I think at its best, it's a way for people to connect about things they're passionate about. And little Megan was thrilled to understand that there was a community that loved what she loved. And that, that goes even beyond Sailor Moon. That goes into so many other things as well. That is my first memory of seeking technology and it providing something for me that was sort of exceptional and unusual.
That's such a great first memory to have.
Cool.
There are people, even folks that have come into the office that George has met that, I've known for 25 or more years from America Online. It's the same idea. It was learning how to program in different rooms with people and sharing the things that we have in common and talking and kind of growing through the process. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the internet. it destroys distance between people. And
Right.
as long as intentions are good, a lot of productive and fun things can happen from it being
Exactly.
around. And I mean, Sailor Moon. When you were talking about it earlier, I started having flashbacks about coming home from like junior high and watching Sailor Moon and the Samurai Pizza Cats at
Yes.
the same time. And I'm going to throw up the link for that intro because it's probably one of the best cartoon intros ever, especially if you like the B-52s, because it
Yes.
just it brings you back. So thank you, Megan. That was like the most like unexpected first experience of technology. I think a lot of it's like, you know, I got in front of this machine and I did this thing with a 5032 processor chip and all whatever, and it's like, yeah, great.
Well,
I will say
yeah.
that stuff from my stories, but so it's really nice to hear a story that really had something to do with one of the earliest forms of like online communication and collaboration between people.
Yeah, and I think it fits. You know, even coming to work for Valiant in a roundabout way. I didn't know a lot about computers, but yeah, for me, it's always the stories and the people to connect with, and that's how I kind of came in from the bigger picture into the more like what the work we do here, and yeah, it makes me love supporting it, I think. So
That's just it's a nice story. I'm not tearing up here. I'm just ready to sneeze. Sorry.
I was very cute, and I did go as Sailor Moon twice for Halloween 2 years in a row. Like, I was
There you go.
There you go.
obsessed.
Done.
All right, let's get into
Matt.
let's turn the clock back to like 1985 or so.
Wow.
You know, wearing a pair of Buster Browns.
E.T.
I got
just came
my
out.
my Husky Fit Wranglers on. You know, as a thick kid, and my mom used to take me to the public library a couple of times a week, and we had a bit of an agreement that for every book I read, I could rent a VHS cassette. You know, that was kind of her way of getting me into reading. And at 4, I was doing a lot of reading. And I remember going in there one day, it was raining and I wasn't in a very good mood. And one of the librarians set me down in front of a computer. And it was almost like to shut me up, you know, when I'm not happy. And anyone that's been with me in a situation where I'm frustrated knows where that can go. So they threw me in front of a computer and it had a non-traditional input device on it. It was a Sesame Street keyboard, which is probably my favorite thing, and I get nostalgic every time I see it. And this is what it looked like. It was meant for, I think it worked with a Commodore or an Atari.
Right.
And it had its own kind of like suite of applications for kids. It really, you'd sit there and you'd really kind of get into things. I mean, even look at the little businessman here. He's taking care of Kermit, right?
Right.
And I sat in front of this machine like for like 4 hours one day, and it became my obsession. Now, we're talking 1985. We're here in 2021. What's on my desk? Kind of just looks like a smaller version of the Sesame Street keyboard. And, you know, we use it to run these streams and do a lot of the video editing and stuff like that. But having this thing in front of me and hitting a button that was red and seeing red appear on the screen was like that aha moment. You know, what's going on here? Why is it when I hit this device, something happens here? I need to understand more. And now, of course, at 5, I wasn't 4 or 5 years old. I wasn't exactly about to go and get into programming. I had no clue on earth that it existed. But thankfully, my parents would put resources in front of me, even if they didn't understand them. You know, like the next year we had a TRS-80 Series 3. It was the dark, it was like the kind of like charcoal colored model. And I think it came with like BASIC. And that's when I started playing around with like ideas and understanding that instructions to a machine, at least at the time, were linear in nature. And it was like step 1, step 2, step 3. And, you know, it wasn't something that I got terribly into, but I understood what it was. And it was kind of exciting, especially at the time with all the sci-fi shows on TV and everything else happening. You know, it kind of fit into the narrative of things you'd see when you turn the TV on to prime time. Kind of made me feel a little bit like MacGyver at times, you know, being able to build something from nothing to make something happen.
Right.
Not that I was running around with duct tape and like empty toilet paper rolls and stuff with me all over them, maybe sometimes, but not that much. You know, and then fast forward like 10 years. And my cousin RJ was getting ready to go off to MIT. We've talked about him before. He worked at NASA. He's done some writing for us on the Cassini mission and a lot of really cool stuff. And I got a hand-me-down computer from him, from his father. And look at this. We're getting all these comments today. And yes, the TI-82 is a calculator I loved playing with in high school.
They're
Um,
fun.
but my uncle gave me a Tandy 1000 TX, and this is weird because this machine kind of has a special place in my heart, and I think it does for a lot of other people too. In fact, I was talking with Drew Hackworth about this last night, and it turns out he owned a Tandy 1000 HX, I think it was. And that was the model where the keyboard was integrated into the case. And we were just kind of talking about, what it was like at that age to work with software and understand what was going on. And the Tandy was a great machine because it was actually affordable at the time for people.
Right.
It was a 286 architecture, so it wasn't exactly running Windows. It was never powerful enough for Windows.
Right.
It had this thing called DeskMate that came from Tandy, which was sort of like this executive organizer that had shades of Windows in it and then became completely irrelevant once Windows came out.
Right.
But it was a machine that was simple enough that you could kind of break it and fix it, understand what's going on inside of it physically, understand the software and work with it. I still have the GW basic manual that came with this machine on the desk, on the shelf of the computer in my bedroom that I work on at night.
Right.
It's still sitting there reminding me of it. And, it's the machine that kind of got me into software. It's the machine that made me realize that I really needed a Windows PC if I wanted to do something really, really interesting. And without a doubt, it was the machine that got me interested in doing something professionally within the realm of technology. And it's a machine that I gave away to a charity probably 10 years ago, and I'm happy that it went someplace and helped someone else. But I still kind of wish I had it around.
Sure.
It's that tied to that equipment and really what it meant. It was also the first time I understood upgrade paths. So in 96, I guess it was, I saved up money and bought my first zip drive. And that was like back when they used parallel ports.
Yes, I remember those.
Yes,
Man.
unlimited, practically.
They also broke, those zip drives broke so often. They were so delicate, the click of death, right? And you would never want to, so scary. Like you would have people have years of work on it and be like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I still have mine, and it's actually functional. I've still got drives that work, discs that work for it too. But this was the first time I was like, oh wait, so just because this machine has a parallel port doesn't mean I can run this. I need drivers, I need this, I need that. I need all these little kind of intricate bits that I had no understanding of prior to. And that kind of helped me understand how machines work and how to maintain them and how upgrades are important. You have to, if you're going to continue working and growing, you need machines that are relevant and are going to support whatever it is that you're trying to do. And I guess at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that was the machine that made me really respect what technology could bring to a person or people. And it's definitely the one that got me to where I am today. So that's my little story. And I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do right now is really about how much technology does surround our daily lives. These instances that we're talking about weren't walking into a classroom or something. They were being in the workplace. Watching TV and wanting to talk about what was getting us so excited, or just being put in front of something for a couple of moments of quiet and peace from my parents.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's cool because those different experiences, they're very varied, but I think that they all are an example of kind of like that spark that gets you interested in doing something. And that's important. I think it's a fun thing to talk about. And does this directly relate to managed services and what we provide to customers? Directly, no. But I think it shows why we do it and the passion that we have for the work, and that we work 9 to 5, but our love for technology is a 24/7 thing. And
very much.
Having been on the other side of conversations with MSPs, having had Valiant pitch MSP services to me a decade ago, one of the things that I would look for is how passionate is the person talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is this an engineer? Is this a salesperson? Oh, if it's engineer and they're not really getting hyped up about talking with what we're going to do, I'm not interested in working with the company.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. I was literally jumping up and down in my office when dealing with the techs from, I mean, even daily. Darren, one of the guys that's here right now, he's the person, one of the people that got me so excited about working with Valiant and a customer, provider relationship. And it is his passion for what he does, and that it extends well past what we do within the confines of the office. And I think that's really what I wanted to kind of get through today. And
very true.
That leads to next week's topic, beginning a career in technology. Because, everyone just heard the story of what kind of got us interested, or a moment that made us think about what it could be. but the stories that we have about how we actually started careers in technology are so varied that I think it would be great. I mean, I've been getting a lot of people reaching out, sliding into the DMs, as the kids these days say, or finding me on LinkedIn with questions about how to get into IT. You know, like asking about my prior life before getting into the marketing side. Help with resumes. Can you look at this for me? I want to get a job in IT, and I don't really know where to get started. I don't know who to talk to. So next week, we're going to talk a little bit about our own experiences and how we got started. And, you know, hopefully that inspires some people to take the steps that they need to do the same thing and kind of find their own path. And I don't know, I'm very excited for that because there's so much going on in the workforce right now. We've got this whole great resignation thing that's happened. Don't really want to talk about that because I got mixed views. But the fact is that there are a lot of positions available these days. There are a lot of people looking to do different things. And if we can share some experience that either encourages them or helps them figure out the direction that they need to take as one of our final episodes of the year, I think that's a beautiful thing.
There are a lot of, I mean, I agree, Matt. It's a very complicated topic, but for a lot of people looking for jobs in IT, this is a really wonderful moment of opportunity to learn and to really make a career that you want, that there's things moving around. You can jump on the boat. That's the metaphor I want to go with. This was really fun. I loved hearing about this. And I loved, I just love hearing about how we first fell in love with IT. You've already said everything, Matt. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Great.
So, sorry.
No, it's great. It's interesting, and I think it's really indicative of what as it is so many great opportunities right now for folks and to learn, and it's a great field if you love learning.
Yeah. I'm an example, like you can come at it from very different places, and I found, at least at Valiant, it's a very welcoming space where you can grow a lot. So everyone, if you enjoyed today's stream, hit that thumbs up button. You know what we're talking about. And if you have any questions or topics, again, that you want us to cover, message us. We will hop on it. We love that. Fill out our online question form. There it is right there. Thank you, Matt. And subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with our live streams and other content produced by our teams. And be sure to visit us at the Valiant Way to learn more about us and our services. So That's all I have to say.
All right.
Nice.
Super.
Yeah. All right. Well, folks, until next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, we're starting to really get into this December thing, and I'm
It's weird.
Oh, hold on a second. We got a little bit of issue in the comments. It appears as though Drew feels he was the first person to do a thumbs up. Boom. But
thank you for following directions, Drew.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
It's nice to feel listened to. That's all I have to say.
Very good.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, until next Thursday, I hope everyone has a great week here in New York. Enjoy some of that 50-degree weather that we're going to be looking at over the next several days. That's kind of nice and out of place for the season, but I guess I'll take it. And until then, everyone just have a really great, good one.
Super. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.